Hello and welcome back to Quinta Berrenta. Apologies it's taken so long to put up a video, but there's a couple of reasons for that. Won't go into it particularly, but the house sale in the UK got delayed a little bit, but we are now back on the land here in Portugal. So let's go and see what we've been up to. So if you remember from the last video, this track was very overgrown. It had overgrown a little bit since we were here in July. We have trimmed all this back, so we've got plenty of access now, and as you can see, beautiful weather. It's actually Christmas Day today when we're filming this. We did film some yesterday, but it didn't work out particularly well. Some of the things we've managed to do is just uncover some of the nice rocks which are here on the corner of the land, and we'll do a little bit more work on this in the next few weeks and months, I guess. Lots of brambles and things like that we've cut back. And as you can see, compared with last time when the land was very dry but overgrown, because it's now the middle of December, it's very, very green and overgrown. So again, that's something we've got to tackle. The track is now pretty worn. We have been coming up and down here a lot. You'll see our little camp coming up here. And as you can see as well, just to the left, we have been pruning some of our olive trees. We have managed to make some olive oil this year. We'll show you that in a second. But basically, we have harvested from 15 trees, and those 15 trees gave us 414 kilos of olives, which equated to 53 litres of olive oil, extra virgin olive oil, which we'll show you when it's inside. So so basically, as you can see, we're now a little bit more set up here. We are here full time now. I'll just go on to a little bit later on about the journey down. But this is Quinta Berrenta in the middle of December. Okay, so part of the reason we took 5 days to come down here is this chap here. This is Guinness. This is our 15-year-old Labrador, so he's quite an old boy. He's a good traveller, but we just felt that maybe taking our time on the way down was the best thing for him, so he's not cooped up in the back of the truck all that time. So we had plenty of stops for him on the way down, but no, he's a good traveller. He's been through the wars a little bit. Unfortunately, Guinness is 100% deaf. He can't hear anything. And earlier this year he went through quite a large operation to get rid of some of the lumps and bumps, and he's still got a few on him, but we're not going to do any more operations with him. But apart from that, yeah, he's a good boy and a great companion. He never deviates very far from us. He has a little wander around the land a little bit, but normally stays on the same terrace as us. He's very much a mummy's boy. He's only staying with me at the moment because I've got biscuits. Yeah, so this is Guinness. Okay, so a little bit about the journey down. Now we've introduced Guinness. He likes his little moments like that. We started our journey on Monday, the 12th of November. We overnighted down at Dover before we crossed over into France. We crossed into France Tuesday, the 19th in the morning, and then drove all the way down to Le Mans in one go. The reason we had to do that is basically in November there's not a lot of campsites open in France that will also take a dog. So we had to sort of do a couple of long days, but we wanted to break the journey up. So we did 2 nights in France, one in Le Mans and one in Bordeaux. Then on the Thursday morning we crossed into Spain, went down to the middle of Spain, stopped in Spain for 2 nights, and then on the Saturday morning we did a little 2-hour drive from the last campsite in Spain into Portugal and arrived on the land. On the way down, what I would say is I've never towed a caravan before in my life. We've got a 6-berth caravan, so it's quite a large bit of kit. And the moment we crossed the channel and got out of the shuttle the other end, we hit the back end of all those storms that everybody was having in the middle of November, with awful rain, blowing a gale all the way down through France, all the way down through Spain, caravan getting buffeted around everywhere, and quite a slow and steady journey. What I would say for people who are thinking about coming that way, it is a very good way to go, as long as you stick to the toll roads in France. Yes, you're going to pay a little bit more, well, you are going to pay to use them, but they're generally very well maintained and they're very easy to navigate, very well signposted, plenty of services, although fuel is extremely expensive in France, but very, very cheap in Spain. So if you're thinking of coming that way, it's a good way to go. The reason we didn't cross the channel on a ferry from Portsmouth or whatever into Bilbao or Santander, simply because that time of year the crossings can be particularly rough, and neither Barbara or I do have particularly good sea legs, and we would have struggled to get Guinness a dog cabin anyway. So it is a way to do it. It's a 5-day journey down from the middle of England down into the middle of Portugal for us, and that's driving for sort of 5.5 hours, 6 hours a day, maybe, with a couple of stops. Certainly worthwhile doing. You do see a little bit of the countryside, but that was the route that worked for us the best, and we arrived on the land all good. So as you can see, all the olive trees that we've got on the land here go all the way down to the bottom, but basically we only really harvested the trees that were on the first 3 or 4 terraces. They were the easiest to get to. Unfortunately, some of the trees are a little bit covered in brambles and old vines and things like that. We weren't planning to actually do any olive harvesting. When we arrived, we thought the season would be over. We then met up with our farmer friends, who you might recall from the previous videos, and we said to them that it was a shame they didn't take the olives because we weren't going to do anything with them. And they almost told us off for not doing anything with them. So by about the 3rd day of being here, we were suddenly armed with nets and olive buckets and things like that, and we proceeded to harvest quite a lot of the olives. Some of these olive trees up here on the top terrace, these were some of the most productive, although they did need a really big haircut. A lot of them were very overgrown. As you can see, we've got piles of branches everywhere of the olive cuttings.
Still need a bit more of a prune though. It was just really for us to be able to harvest the olives that were on the trees. But now, over the next coming weeks, we have to prune them back more.
Yeah, so the idea is basically you've got to open it up to the shape of a champagne glass, and to enable a bird to fly through the centre of them. That's the sort of folklore involving them. We have tried to burn some of the olive branches and things like that. We do need to do another fire, but we have to book that with the authorities, which is pretty straightforward. We are registered with them now. One thing I would point out is the oranges that we've got. The 2 trees either side of the sort of lean-to shed, they're more like a sort of tangerine, nectarine sort of thing, aren't they?
Yeah.
But and they do have a lot of pips in those particular oranges. But this tree here, although it hasn't got hundreds of olives on it, hundreds of oranges on it, the ones that are on there are absolutely gorgeous. I'll pick one now. Look at that. And these are sweet and they don't have any pips in, and they are just lovely, completely natural. So we'll show you inside the house a little bit. All we've really done in here is just kitted ourselves out with a few basics that we might need. But just a few tools we brought with us, nothing major. But this is the tub of olive oil, if you can see that. So the reason it's kept in here is because you have to allow it to settle for a few weeks before you decant it into these 5 litre jerry cans, which we've got a couple of bags of them. But yeah, so we're just letting it settle.
Job for us over the next week, decant it.
Yeah. So, but it's very, very nice olive oil, I've got to say.
And now
yay! So we do have electricity now. We didn't for the first 3 weeks.
Yeah, about 3 weeks.
So for about the first 3 weeks, we didn't have any electricity. So we were using a petrol generator and having to time that accordingly. But basically, yeah, we were having to use the generator quite sparingly in the evenings or late in the afternoon. We did book the electricity to be connected 4 times. Unfortunately, where we are, we don't get any post delivered here. We're too far away from the village. So we have to register ourselves with a post office box in the next nearest town that has a post office. That unfortunately has a different postcode to us, which meant when the electricity board were trying to come out to put the electricity in, they weren't actually in the right village. So after a few false starts, we got a Portuguese mobile number, and by a little bit of liaison with the company, we managed at 4 o'clock in the afternoon to meet a guy in the local village here, brought him down to the house, and they took out the old meter that was in there and put a smart meter in there. So at the moment, we just run a cable all the way from the house, all the way up to the caravan. But having electricity, what a godsend. Okay, I mentioned earlier on, apologies for not actually putting a video out. As I say, we were a little bit delayed. We were aiming to be here in October, but we couldn't get here until November, what with the house sale and everything. And when we got here, the mobile signal is so poor here. We are quite a long way from the nearest transmitters. So we had very, very limited access to the internet. Hence, one of our other purchases we got was Starlink. So absolute godsend, easiest way to get onto the internet out here if you're in rural Portugal. You literally plonk that thing on the ground, plug it in with one cable, and within 5 minutes you've got internet. This equipment, depending what country you're in, some countries you can buy Starlink. Excuse me. Over here, luckily, they have an offer on at the moment where you can actually rent the equipment for €15 a month. And the line rental for unlimited internet access is around about €45 a month, I think it is, 40 or 45. But an absolute game changer. We've had this a couple of weeks now, hence we can now do some videos for you. Okay, so this is one of the other issues that we have, and it's probably one of the biggest ball aches I've got, is water. So at the moment, we don't have any running water in the land at all. We've got a natural spring which comes out of the hillside, and we've got a well, but we're not at the stage where we can use any of that water yet. So at the moment, with the truck, I go to the water point in the village, probably about 3 times a week. I fill up these large plastic containers here, 25 litres each, plus a few other bits and bobs. And then we decant that into the feeder, which goes into the side of the caravan. But as you can see here, we've got these 2 IBCs that we purchased the other week. The idea with these is that one will stay here and feed into the caravan. The other one will go into the back of the truck. I'll take that down to the water point, fill it up with 500 litres and do that twice. Drive it up past the caravan here to a slightly higher bit of land and just use gravity to feed it down into this IBC, which then feeds, obviously, as I said, into the caravan. Long-term goal will be to make an arrangement actually in the spring which comes out of the hill, blank that off into like a concrete box and use the water coming out of that and run it through some filters and UV lights and everything. But at the moment, this is the only water fix that we've got. And this is one of the other purchases we've done. This is a second-hand little tractor, little 4-wheel drive. We're going to need this. We have got 3.5 acres, and I can't possibly keep on top of the grass and things like that without it. It does come with 3 attachments. We've got a brush cutter here. That's really suitable for cutting down brambles and really taking the top off any of the grass when it gets too long, although it's not a full grass cutter. We've got a little orange box, and that's just for humping and dumping stuff around the land. and we've got a little rotavator for preparing the land for any planting we might do. But again, mini tractors, really little godsend. Absolutely brilliant bit of kit. I've had a play around with it. I'm no expert, but I do look forward to getting better at it. And now I can shout at people and say, "Get off my land!" Okay, so one of the things I would say is since we've arrived here, the local villagers have been absolutely wonderful to us. Literally from the moment we got here, they've been very supportive. They've accompanied us out and about to make sure we know where everything can be found. They've shown us where builders merchants are that you wouldn't know were there. They've been absolutely brilliant. We are the only English in the village here. We're somewhat of a curiosity still, I guess. But they are absolutely chuffed to bits that we've taken on the Kinta and we'll be restoring it back to its former glory, if you like. It's quite a well-known farm from what we can gather, and I think it made people quite sad that it was beginning to fall a little bit into rack and ruin. So they've been absolutely wonderful. Okay, so one thing you might be thinking is, well, you haven't really achieved much in 5 weeks. Well, part of the reasons for that is Barbara and I got struck down with the flu not long after we arrived, and it effectively wiped us out for 2 weeks. It was a pretty intense flu, cold, whatever you want to call it. I got it initially and suffered quite badly with it, being man flu, of course. And then just as I was sort of getting over it, Barbara then came down with it. So the last few days, bearing in mind it's 5 weeks, Saturday just gone, today's Monday, Christmas Day. So on Saturday we'd been here 5 weeks, and unfortunately 2 of those weeks were a complete write-off. So we will get better at getting a bit more organised with things. But yeah, that's part of the reason why we haven't seen major progress. But we're getting there. We're getting there. And it is Christmas after all, so who's going to bust their balls this time of year? Now, as many of you know, because the UK is no longer in the EU, we have to get a visa to come here. In our case, the type of visa was a D7. We originally applied to the Manchester consulate. We found out subsequently that that was the wrong consulate for our area. We lived in Wiltshire, so our correct consulate was London. So we eventually got an appointment for the London VSF office on the 1st of November. We got all our paperwork in order. We did all the paperwork ourselves. There's no need to involve solicitors or immigration lawyers or anything like that. It's all perfectly doable by yourself. We had all that information. We attended the office in London on the 1st of November, as I said. We then took a bit of a risk, I guess. We travelled down earlier before we even got a decision on our visa. We didn't know how long it was going to take. But we arrived here, as I say, on the 19th or whatever it was of November. And literally on the 21st of November, 3 weeks to the day of attending our first interview, we got a decision by email to say both Barbara and I have been approved for our visas, which was a tremendous result for us, which means hopefully we can have our second stage visa interview, which is the one that you have in Portugal itself. That should be around April, maybe May time. We don't know exactly yet. We're just waiting for the dates. But yeah, so we've got a visa to be residents in Portugal. Okay, so we first of all want to say a few thank yous, in particular the family and friends. You know who you are, you know what you've done to help us get to this point. We do miss you all. We all look forward to seeing you in the new year, or maybe later on in the year. But yeah, we're just so pleased to be here. We'd also like to say thank you to everybody that's been with us. We know we had a lot of subscribers and it sort of went a bit busy and we haven't done anything for a few months. Obviously, hopefully I've explained the reasons why. But going forward now, these videos will be a bit more often. We're not professionals at these sort of things. It's just me, a laptop and filmed on a camera. But hopefully now we've got a little microphone so you can hear us a little bit better now. But yeah, we're just absolutely pleased to be here. And I think the final thing it means is just to say
Merry Christmas, everyone. Hope you have a great new year. I hope you have a lovely day on Christmas Day. I'm sorry we can't be with our friends and family, but who knows? Maybe next year, maybe they might be here with us. So
yeah,
Merry Christmas, everyone.
Merry Christmas. Cheers, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. So here we are in the centre of the village. And this is the pile of wood that they're going to burn tonight, Christmas Eve. Just a pretty small pile of wood.
Está todo furado. Agora ao longe, mas bem. Até parece que eu era de 53. Ah, pô, como é que é? É de um dia para o outro.